as always, custom to the show, we take a look at what we can expect on the diary with our different in-house editors. In fact, to tell us a little bit more about what's happening international front, international news desk, perhaps coming up for this week, SABC News international editor Sophie Mokoena standing by. Sophie, good afternoon. We're not spared by the developments happening, and obviously, if we just look at one story that's topped the agenda, immigrants who landed in Eswatini from the USA, lots of questions. I mean, the historical migration, history on that front. What's civil society, reacting on that regard as well? Talk to us a little bit more about what the terms and conditions also entail.
The reaction from the region in general, including people in Eswatini, has been a strong rejection of what has happened, because you have a situation where the United States of America is getting into these agreements with African countries, targeting the vulnerable countries to take these deportees or illegal immigrants. And most of them, these are hard criminals, people who have committed serious crimes, including murder, rape, and therefore you bring them in these countries. Are you saying these countries should be a dumping site of bad things? So there has been a concern, particularly in the region, in the SADC region, with neighboring countries raising a concern. Ordinary people, governments haven't said anything, and they wouldn't do that in public. It will be a diplomatic process if there are concerns. But ordinary citizens of the region and some people in Eswatini have really objected to this, but we don't know. And that even compelled the Eswatini government to issue a statement. But the reality is, you can see those countries that have been targeted are the vulnerable small countries. We know that South Africa, Nigeria, and other big countries on the continent have been vocal about being bullied by the United States of America. And there is a concern, particularly for South Africa. Where are they going to end up? Yes, they are saying they will be finally taken to their respective countries. Why you don't take them to their respective countries from the United States of America? You still have a transit. Transit for what?
Well, there are more questions and answers, and I know we are monitoring that. But as we continue on the diary, I know if we turn our attention back to other stories on the African continent, the DRC government meeting with the M23 rebel in Qatar. Talk to us about the processes. Perhaps if we look at some of the previous attempts, what's emerged, following the agreement now that has been put in place? Even if we're just looking at the refugee exchanges, some of the oversight mechanisms that also has to happen. What can you divulge on that front for us?
It's not clear yet in terms of the full content of the declaration signed by M23 and also government, the DRC in Qatar. Because already yesterday, there was already exchange of words in terms of the interpretation of the declaration. But it has to lead to a situation where there's ceasefire and there are peace talks, and therefore you integrate all the Congolese. Whether we will arrive at that, it remains to be seen. But there was this step. But what caught my attention was that exchange in terms of the interpretation of the declaration. It's not an agreement, a full agreement. It's a declaration. We declare, we will communicate, we will start the process. But as long as I haven't had anything from President Tshisekedi, for me, it's a watch, you wait and see.
All right. All right, so we're going to continue to monitor those developments every day. But, I mean, we're also obviously seeing Donald Trump, the tariffs that's kicking in on the 1st of August. We're trying to understand questions about the rationale for these tariffs, but the disruptions to the value chain at large, the impact on domestic industry as well, political-driven motives. What can you also speak about that in relation to the geopolitics unfolding?
Clearly, Donald Trump, as he pointed out when he was campaigning, that it's all about America first. He wants to revive the manufacturing sector in the United States of America. He is a businessman. He's a shrewd businessman, and he his approach is trade and nothing else but trade and investment, but also he's a transactional president, and therefore he wants these transactions with countries. On the 1st of August, we'll see which countries have agreed or where there's agreement, but countries are negotiating. South Africa, for example, the Department of Trade and Industry and also the Department of International Relations, they are engaged with the Americans here at the embassy and to try and find a solution in terms of what South Africa can put forward as a new approach in terms of trade relations between South Africa and the United States of America. Many countries are doing that. I can tell you on Monday going to Friday, it's going to be a lot of noise and until next week. And I think Donald Trump is going to divert the attention because there are people who are calling him to come out clean on the Epstein files. And therefore, he might use this just to divert the attention next week.
Well, we are certainly also monitoring those developments.
I think another big story is Morocco.
No, absolutely. I mean, we've seen former President Jacob Zuma's controversial visit. Let's look at South Africa-Morocco relations, the use of the flag, his purpose, his visit, the purpose of that as well. But also just whether, you know, the need for government approval, what goes into former presidents as well. Give us a clear sense of what's unfolding there.
The African National Congress has been very consistent in terms of the issue of Sahrawi. It's about self-determination. A country that has experienced apartheid regime and colonialism cannot be seen as supporting suppression somewhere. And it has been very consistent in terms of different conferences. I mean, the very same conference that led to President then of the ANC in 2007 ascending to the possession of the leadership of that organization endorsed support for the Sahrawi people, a strong or a policy position because they went to the policy conference before the conference and the elective conference adopted the resolution. It was under the auspices of Jacob Zuma as the head custodian of policy direction of the party. Come 2012, he was re-elected. You look at the policy position on the Western Sahara. The ANC conference adopted the recommendation from the policy conference as the highest decision-making body under the auspices of President Jacob Zuma at that time. And now him leading the MK, it's a complete different position. And therefore, the ANC issued a statement objecting to how the flag of the country is used, almost like it's a diplomatic visit. And today, the ANC secretary responded, but also we saw the person who's in the office of the president of MKP reading a statement. In fact, former president called him to read the statement in terms of the position of the MKP, and therefore it has generated a heated debate. But I think this coming weekend, you are going to see a big conference where liberation organizations will converge in South Africa at the highest level of the leadership to discuss Africa and the world in general and regions, including sister parties and friends of the liberation organizations. This issue will be high on the agenda as they deal issues of where we are as a continent in dealing with issues of suppression of one by another.
Well, Sophie, thank you very much for also speaking to, the ANC hosting some of those leaders and delegates from liberations, movements from the African continent. All the other stories we can expect as the week continues. International editor Sophie Mokoena for the SABC joining us for that discussion or outlining what we can expect. Let's leave it there.